Hey everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the second half of the summer for today's video. We've had a couple of longer range models in that may be hinting at some warmer, drier weather for the second half of summer compared to what we've had, well, so far through June. Hasn't really been a wet month, but it's certainly been quite cool. Temperatures are running around a degree cooler than average, but we may be seeing some hints at we might get some high pressure for the second half of summer, so I'll have a look at that in a moment. We'll also have a look at whether it's 8 to 10 days in today's video as well. So quite a lot going on, but before I go on, I've actually say about the ads, there's links to articles, look at pages, so guys, so you'll have browser widgets, and the articles that you're interested in, please click through. You have to go for read the article. Thanks so much for doing that. There's a video I suppose page, say open out within the content when you watch them and close back up again. It's helping to pay for the website, so thanks so much for getting involved in doing that. If you're wondering about Glastonbury, there'll be a new update for Glastonbury on the events page this evening, probably around 7 o'clock this evening. So we did the first update, of course, on Saturday evening. It was a good update, seemingly in a lot of dry and quite warm weather. We'll have a look and see whether that's maintained this evening, so come back to the events page for that later on. Right, these are the temperature anomalies for the coming week. It's indicative of what we've been seeing really through June, and actually going back into May as well, which is pretty cool temperature anomalies. So here we are for the 15th to the 23rd of June, and we can see that the temperature anomaly for the coming week is around or even a little bit cooler than average across the country, and it's a fairly cool scene across many parts of Europe as well. I did the European Outlook this morning for the coming week, and that's seen in quite a lot of cool weather across many parts of Europe as well, so it's generally quite a disappointing scene at the moment with these temperatures. The precipitation on is also coming out a bit drier than average. So we've got this unusual combination. Well, it's unusual for summer anyway, being quite cool but also quite dry. Normally in summer when you get it cool, it's wet, and when it's dry, it's quite hot. But just an odd sort of weather pattern that we've got at the moment. And one of the things that could be driving this is the cool temperature anomalies that we've got in the Atlantic. Got cold sea surface temperature anomalies. This is from NOAA, from NOAA, the United States Meteorological Agency. This is the sea surface temperature anomaly for the whole of the world. So you've got the vast swathe of the Pacific Ocean over here, and of course the much smaller Atlantic Ocean over here, and that's where we are, right next to the Atlantic Ocean. You can see all of this blue up here in the northern Atlantic Ocean is cooler than average temperature anomalies. It is really quite significantly cool now in the northern Atlantic Ocean. Probably about the coolest it's been at this time of the year anyway. Certainly going back to the early 1990s, we've got 1991 and 1992, which were pretty cold years in terms of what the Atlantic temperature was like, but those are sort of excluded from the record because we've got the effects of Mount Pinatubo, which was sort of skewering, if you like, or mixing up the anomalies that were going on. So they're taken out of the record, and we can't really see the temperature anomalies, annoyingly, for 91 and 92. So actually, you have to go back to the 1980s to find the Atlantic as cold as it is at the moment. At this time of the year anyway, around May and June time. So I've got these unusually cold sea surface temperature anomalies in the northern Atlantic. That probably promotes high pressure in the Atlantic, so it tends to limit the potential for low pressure, so that explains the dryness. But the thing with this is that with the high pressure out to the west, it means that the air is coming from that sort of direction, from the west and the northwest. And when that happens, with the cold sea surface temperature anomalies with the Atlantic Ocean, of course, we limit the temperature potential. So although it's dry, the temperatures are a little bit limited, and that's, I think that's partly anyway what's been going on over the past few weeks. If we get that high pressure over us, or get it to the east of us, set it up somewhere across Central Europe, for example, then it won't matter what the sea surface temperature anomalies are like in the Atlantic, because the air will start to be dragged up sort of from the continent, from the Mediterranean, from southern Europe and North Africa, and in that case, it will lift the temperatures up even with the cooler Atlantic Ocean. So it's just the position of the high pressure index. That position isn't favourable to particularly warm conditions at the moment. But as I say, we may be seeing some signals that for the second half of the summer, things could warm up a bit. This is the very latest 500 millimeter height anomaly from the Beijing Climate Center for the next 3 months. So this is for the period from July through to September. And what we see with this is that we've got a lot of orange here across the country. So this is indicating an area of above average height sitting at 500 millibars, 500 HPA over the country, and that's an area of high pressure, and it's right in there across the British Isles. Now we are hinting a little bit at a trough around Scandinavia, so that possibly keeps the flow from sort of a northerly or northeasterly type direction. But overall, that is signaling the high pressure to be moving a bit from where it is, which is sort of to the west of us, more to be centrally located over the country. If that did happen, it would start to cut off these cool westerly winds, and the temperatures will begin to warm up. So the temperature anomaly for July to September is coming out warmer than average in those orange colours there. So it is seeing that as we get through to the middle and second half of summer. I think it's probably more for August and September actually, rather than July, which could still be a rather coolish mix month. But for August and September, I think it is seeing the chance that the high pressure could move its position a bit and start to bring up some warmer conditions. Although notice that even for July, September, across much of Central and Central Europe, Eastern Europe, the temperature anomaly is still really quite disappointing, really. So we're not far away from still being pretty cool. The rainfall anomaly for July to August comes out drier than average as well with the Beijing Climate Center. So it's seeing high pressure to be in really across the country, which explains why it's turning warmer, because the air is being cut off from the Atlantic and it's probably coming up more from the continent, and the temperature, the precipitation anomaly I should say, is coming out drier than average as well, because that high pressure is right in. And the JAMSTEC IOD is seeing as well. That's just updated, very early to be updating. Normally JAMSTEC is one of the final models to update through all of the model suites. It normally doesn't update until getting on to the end of the month, but it's updated very early this month. And this is the temperature anomaly for June, July and August, so it's still taking into account what's going on this month, which is pretty cool. But look at this, we're in the red colours again, or the salmon pink colours there, indicating that it is still seeing, despite this cool start, it's seeing a warmer than average summer. No, it's very cool summer though for many parts of America. And in terms of the rainfall anomaly, if we can just have a quick look at that for the rest of the summer, it's going for drier than average as well. So the Beijing Climate Center and the JAMSTEC model are sort of in agreement that this high pressure should be building in through the country as we go through the summer. So although so far through this summer, and we're only up to the middle part of June, so far the high pressure being generally centred to the west, which has kept it fairly dry but also quite cool. It is seeing, both these models are seeing that we should see a change in the position of that high pressure to make it more centrally located over country, maybe even get it a little bit towards the east. So perhaps better signs if you like it warmer. Anyway, not everybody likes it warm in the summer, but if you do like it warm in the summer, perhaps signs that the second half of summer, that's when we might start to get some warmer weather. We are due a hot August. We haven't had a hot August really since sort of 2003. So it's been a long time waiting for a hot August. It'll happen before much longer, I would think. It could be this year, you just never know. Right, let's just have a look at the next week to 10 days. So we start off on Saturday, 120 hours away with the GFS model, and look, it's still this position that we've had throughout the throughout sort of May and the first half of June, which is the high pressure to still be sitting more or less to the west of the country, down to the west and the southwest. So the flow is still going rather like that. and the air is still coming off that cool Atlantic from the west to northwesterly direction. That's how we start off on Saturday. On Sunday, the high pressure is still there to the west. It keeps it most. I think we should have quite a bit of dry weather over the weekend. There could be some showers in the north and the east. Maybe another system comes around the top of the high pressure, perhaps bringing more in way of cloud and showers as we start next week. Then as we go through into the middle part of next week, it's still really that idea of high pressure out to the west. This is how we finish up on day 10, Thursday the 25th of June, which is just beginning to come into the time frame of Glastonbury, of course. And what the GFS is doing for that one is developing quite a deep area of low pressure out to west of the country, actually. So that could be bringing wet and windy weather into the north and west, with a ridge down to the south and to the southwest. Certainly no signs bear of anything particularly prolonged in terms of warm, dry conditions. Will be generally quite dry, but certainly no sign of any desperate warmth coming through up to day 10, Thursday the 25th of June. The ECMWF, very similar. Here we are for Saturday. Again, the high pressure is generally centred to the west of the southwest of the country. Some sort of trough is coming around the northern and eastern side of that ridge, probably producing more in way of showers to the north and the east of the country. And then the ECMWF actually keeps that high pressure out to west a little bit more than the GFS as we go through the start of next week. So it is still quite unsettled even to start next week, with this trough probably bringing a fair number of showers, particularly to the north of the country. Also hinting at a little bit of northern blocking there around Greenland and Iceland. Eventually we sort of build a ridge through the country. I'm going to go through to day 10, which is Thursday the 25th of June. Again, that quite deep area of low pressure is out to west of the country, so that's not particularly good. So it's just before Glastonbury. It's probably not good, particularly good signals for Glastonbury with that low pressure so close. But if the low pressure stalls there, it could bring up some warmth from the south, but it will be very unstable and there will probably be risk of thunderstorms. Anyway, we shall look at Glastonbury on the events page this evening. But overall, I'm not really seeing any signs yet of a significant change in the pattern that we've had through May and through the first half of June. That high pressure is still stubbornly sitting to the west and the southwest of the country. The Atlantic is still in a very cool state in terms of the surface temperatures, so the air coming off that cool Atlantic Ocean is relatively cool from a west to northwesterly type direction. As long as that high pressure sticks or is stuck to the south, the west of the country to the southwest, it's going to be difficult to sustain any warmth. But those longer range models do hint that there could be changes, I thought, as we get through into the second half. So we will keep an eye on it, of course. But it's the Glastonbury update on the events page. You see, come back to that if you're interested in what may be going on for the festival. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.